Okay, great to be back. Hello, wonderful audience. Welcome to How to Make Your Live Stream Count with Team 7. Please welcome to the stage, Maeve de Bordons.
Thank you, Charlie. So as we all know, live streams are a very big business, and increasingly so with this, for example, Jean-Michel Jarre virtual concert with 75 million viewers. Now, why have we researched live streaming? So it's a huge opportunity for all of us, no matter where you are in the music business. And we're here to help you understand its purpose and optimize your strategy for your future live streams. Now, we've explored which platforms are key and the return on investment of a live stream.
And the data sources that we used for this were Polestar, and paired that with Chartmetric. One of the reasons that we did that is it's a less explored area, and Polestar had some data on it. I haven't seen many analyses on this, so that's why I wanted to delve into this area. So starting off with which platforms are key. We can see, unsurprisingly, that Facebook comes out as dominating, with 77% of the live streams in our data set going through Facebook. There's a long tail of other areas as well, but what was interesting was looking at the overlap between different channels, because of course you can stream on multiple channels at the same time. So when we think about Twitch, it turns out if you're broadcasting on Twitch, a third of those people are also broadcasting on Facebook at the same time with a live stream gig. But on YouTube, this is actually the other way around. So a third of them are soulless, and then 2/3 are seeing in that intersection between Facebook and YouTube. But what does this actually mean in terms of views? So what we've plotted here is views transformed logarithmically, so that if we had a huge gig like The Weeknd up here, then it wouldn't be dwarfing all of the others and pushing them to the bottom of the chart. But the main thing that we can see from this violin plot, and this is just looking at the distribution, so all the different views plotted across here, what we can see from this is it is better to be on both. Don't just stick to Facebook, don't just stick to YouTube, be on both. But what about Twitch? So it actually turned out in our data set, you were more likely to have more views if you're just solely on Twitch. Now, what are the reasons for this? Is it a function of the platform or potentially the artists using the platform? Well, it's not necessarily a function of the Twitch having the largest artists, because actually you look at the mean Spotify followers, the median Spotify followers, taken from Chartmetric for those soulless Facebook and soulless Twitch. It's actually lower numbers for Twitch, but genre might be a significant influencing factor in this. So we saw Twitch having significant over indices with pop, with dance, electronic. So there was a variance between that might be explaining that. So moving on to look at ROI of a live stream, we had a bit of a debate around the purpose of live stream. To what extent is it about sales, and to what extent is it about promotion? So on the promotion side, live streams are obviously about audience growth and attention, and especially with COVID times, that connection between artist and fan base was crucial. But of course, the monetization is key in the industry, and we can have paid tickets, merch or tip jars, and also we can potentially see an uplift in streams after you've had a live stream gig. So paid tickets and increase in streams was an area that we wanted to delve into more. So looking at unpaid versus paid was an area that we wanted to analyse. However, in our data set, we didn't have sufficient paid gigs to be able to run the linear regression that we had planned on it. To be able to predict what your downshift would be in terms of viewers, which is a crucial number to be able to figure out to make that decision. Are we going to go for marketing, or are we going to go for sales with a paid gig, and what number of viewers would we expect? However, when we ran a regression on that, excluding the paid, our model was had an R-squared of 0.4, so not a fantastic model, but explaining some of the variance there. What was interesting was that uplift between uplift in streams. We took this Dua Lipa example. Now, you might think 2.3 million incremental sales, correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation because there are a lot of other things going on at once. So when we actually analysed this properly, we found out that doing a linear regression with our whole data set, we found out that actually live stream views wasn't a fantastic predictor of these uptick in sales, and other things had a more significant influence. So in conclusion, live streams drives fan engagement, smart platform selections drive fewer numbers. So if you're on Facebook, be on YouTube too, but Twitch is distinct. And live streaming driving streaming. Anecdotal evidence tells us yes, but don't necessarily just believe that, because systematic evidence says it's not as clear cut as that. In further areas, we want to research genre, impact of scarcity on live streams, and different outcomes for ticketed live streams. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. All right, so judges, now you guys have 3 minutes to ask your questions. Take it away. Tiago, go ahead.
Somehow I can't unmute. Oh, there we go. Hey, great presentation, a lot of data, and I would like to talk probably about one specific point around the difference between doing a live stream solely on Twitch versus doing it on multiple platforms. You mentioned that you didn't know if that was going to be a specific measure or feature of the platform versus a distribution of genres or specificity around the artists of that platform. But thinking a little bit more about what type of signals typical streaming tools like OBS, etc., would send to a Twitch, it's far-fetched at least to assume that that's one of those signals is going to be if the stream is to multi-platforms or just one. So what are some of the hypotheses that you had in mind, if it's really artist genres or others that you think is causing that that reasoning for Twitch streams to be more valid and more valuable if they're done solely?
It's a really good question, and also I think it's potentially an unfair comparison as well because of the different artists, the different things that people will do on Twitch as well. And within our data set, we didn't have captured producers producing on Twitch, etc., that would yield different results, because you wouldn't be comparing like with like as well. So I think there's different sets of artists that are gravitating towards it, but it's also slightly different use cases and different audiences. Potentially younger audiences might be driving that. And also in terms of viewers, you might get people dipping in and out, which you might not get as much in terms of live gigs and live gigs on YouTube, etc. So we didn't have any data on some of those specifics to answer those hypotheses, but those were some of the things that we discussed.
Great. I think I saw Charlie next. Go ahead, Charlie.
Hi, yes, great presentation. Interesting to see the relationship between Twitch and Facebook. I'm wondering if with aggregated data, do you find that the story might be different based on audience demographics? Perhaps different identities are shifting to different platforms over like the big picture that we're seeing here?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's an area that we didn't have time to explore properly or tag anything onto our data. It's an area that I'd love to explore, because there are significant differences in demographics of platforms that will guide the behavior, both in terms of I'd assume both in terms of the attention as well, and in terms of the payment off the back, so likelihood to make micro payments. And we know that older people are more likely to, if they're going to make payments, and they're going to make larger payments as well. So that the impacts of those different audience demographics will have different implications.
And as additional note on that, we were strictly using public data, so a further approach could be to get some private data in the mix.
All right, I think we have a question from Susie. Go ahead, Susie.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation. My question was around the impact of geography data and from a global perspective. And I was reading up on the Dua Lipa stream and 5 million viewers. and they said that 2 million of those unique logins came from China. And so, with the understanding that Facebook and other platforms are not even in China, then does that force or reconcile? Does that force a team to think about what platform they choose or what platform they don't choose, just based on where they are or are not geographically?
That's a fascinating question, and there's two ways of thinking about it, because some people are approaching live streaming with wanting to create the scarcity of the live world, and you can do that both. You're doing that temporally because you're choosing a time slot to be live streaming, but you can also choose to do that geographically. So you can choose to potentially exclude by choosing a platform that is excluding people. But I think that it's a no-brainer in terms of maximizing reach and maximizing penetration. There's so many untapped markets that if you are choosing a platform like Facebook, augmenting that with making sure that you're choosing a platform to pair with that, to not put an artificial headroom on yourself, or to potentially use a different platform that would help with that, or do different streams on different platforms at different times.